This video isn't required, but if you're struggling at all with this grain of rice chart, then I wanted to walk you through it just with a little more detail because maybe it made perfect sense to you. You can take off running with it, but maybe you just needed a little more direction with it. I want to make sure you feel completely set and ready to do this assignment. Here's what we're doing. We're saying, and first of all, you've got to start by watching this video. If you don't watch the video, then what'll happen is the problem, you might be able to do the arithmetic. You just type it in on the calculator and you'll be able to turn in the chart and get the points, but it will be somewhat meaningless in that it won't quite make sense. So let me set up the scenario here. The scenario is you are in a situation where for 30 days, so that's why we go through day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up through day 30. For 30 days, you're given this gift where the first day you get 1, and on the second day, you get double that. So double 1 would be 2. On the third day, you double that. So double the 2 and you get 4. So when you follow this pattern, you could see that by the 7th day, your gift is 64 items. Now in this particular video, the gift, is a grain of rice. So on day 1, the character in the story, is given 1 grain of rice. On day 2, she gets 2 times 1, or 2. Let me put that in the calculator. I know you don't need a calculator for this, but 1 times 2 equals 2. And then all I have to do on my calculator is times 2 equals 4, times 2 equals 8. And I know you're saying, well, why are we using a calculator? I just wanted to use the calculator to show you how easy this is. Times 2, I leave the answer 32, and then times 2 equal, notice that I haven't hit the clear button at all, so I'm up to 64. Now if I keep going, times 2 equals 128. Oh, I didn't know that when I went to type in, my calculator was going to disappear. So I apologize for that. Let me bring it back up. Times 2 equals 256. So I'll put that in this cell, etc. But what's happening is, what this 128 means is that on day 8, she is given 128 new grains of rice. I'm going to go ahead and put the 256 here because 2 times 128. So every day the number of grains of rice is doubling. So here's the question for you. A grain of rice maybe isn't that significant to you. So maybe let's make it pennies. So it's something you could actually imagine doing something with in this day and age. So let's say that on day 1 you get 1 penny, day 2 you get 2 pennies, day 3 you get double that, so 4 pennies. By day 9 you're up to a gift of $2.56. So here's the question. When you get to day 30, let's call it the end of the month, the big key is you're trying to find out how much do you have all together. What could you buy with that? Could you buy a nice Chinese meal with lots of rice? Or a nice curry meal with lots of rice? Or could you buy maybe a party for 10 of your closest friends or family? Maybe you could buy a yacht. Oh, that seems pretty crazy. Probably not, right? But let's see at the end of day 30, if these were pennies, how much would you have at the end of 30 days if every day you get double your allowance from the day before? The next part, after you get how much you're being gifted each day, more importantly, you might be interested in, well, how much is the total? So after day 1, after your gift on day 1, you have a total of 1 grain. On the next day, we're going to take this grain, this 1, and we're going to add it to the 2 new grains that we got And this is going to add up, of course. 1 plus 2 is 3. And then if I have 3 and I add it to the 4 new ones, so here's what I'm doing is I'm taking this 3 let me highlight it for you so you can see it real clearly. I'm taking this 3 and adding it to the 4 new grains. So you've got it. You've got this pattern already. You can see that we now have 7. How many do we have total at the end of day 4? So after we're gifted 8 grains of rice, we have 7 that we already had, and we have a new 8. 7 plus 8 gives us 15. How many grains of rice do we have at the end of day 5? So after we're gifted 16 grains of rice, do you see how to continue this? And so on. Do you see what we're doing here? So I've added the total we had at the end of day 4. So that's how many. This 15 is what we already had. And I'm adding that to the 16 that we got on, just given to us on day 5. And when I add those together, it looks like I have a total of 31 at the end of day 5. And so on. I could keep going. Let me bring up this calculator again to show you how I would approach this. I would first start by doing all the way through. And when you get to day 15, that's not the last one. We'll just continue. Whatever answer you get for the new grains on day 15, double that and fill it up here. On day number 16, how many grains are there? But let me show you what we could do with our calculator from here. If we clear this, and let's say we had our 31, what do we get when we add the 32? And then I could put in my 63 here. My calculator already says 63, so I can just add this new 64 to get the 127 here, and so on. Do you see what I did? I'm going to take the 127, and that's already in the calculator, and I'm going to add it to the 128. So 127 is already there. Add it to 128, and that equals 255. And so on. You might notice a pattern. You might not. By the end, I hope that you see the pattern. So you might find a shortcut instead of adding to get this 255, and that's okay also. You don't have to video yourself to prove that you used a calculator all the way through. If you see a pattern, that's fine. Some of you are exceptional at using Excel, and maybe it'd be fun for you to create an Excel sheet that does this work for you. So however you want to go about filling in these different cells in the chart is fine, but what you need to do is finish all of the, let me show you by highlighting it. You need to by the end, finish by getting all of these numbers filled in. And then the big idea is going to be that you have this last one, and that's the final answer. At the end of 30 days, following this pattern, how many grains of rice would you have? Or if instead of grains of rice, if it were pennies, on this day, at the end of day 30, how many pennies would you have? Well, I hope this short video helps you with this activity, just in case you needed a little more explanation on how to complete it.